Hello. Hi. All right, guys. Today's topic is Naruto, Orochimaru's the antagonist in everyone's story. Before Naruto is an anime, by the way, just to let you guys know. But one thing very important. Today I started my new pattern. So remember, I actually took a small desk at a spot. It's called Beirut Digital District. Not really. I don't really have strong feelings for that place. The previous place I was at, I actually loved it more. The way it was, everything about it was a lot more my vibe. Trees, garden, actual you can see the sky, right? Where we are right now, we have whatever they tried to attempt to create of a community space. But whatever. I went there today for the first time. Naturally, I was there by 10:30 instead of the time that works, which is 7. But I had a long night's sleep yesterday, of which I actually wrote some beautiful notes about yesterday. It's just amazing. But anyways, I realized that I got some work done. I read some stuff. Just being there today was more dealing with internet not working, right? Like a lot of things were not really set. Like just random being in a new place and kind of developing some form of realizing the things that need to be established in order for me to kind of be in a zone. So in my mental notes, one of them was about coffee. Like I had Nescafe over there, which turned out to be not the best of investment. Also, I had WhatsApp open in front of me while I was working. So anytime it kind of clicked, I went there. And at one point, I forced myself to take a break. For some reason, I decided I'm going to take a break at that point. And when I did take a break, it lasted for another hour, which when I came back to start continuing work, it wasn't really feeling it. Just not at all. I literally had no sense of direction. It was literally my first day. But so around 2 o'clock, 1:32, I was like, you know what, man, just let me go home. And throughout the whole day, I was searching for the machine, the IQOS machine. I was looking for somebody who actually has it in order to drink it from them. I asked it from somebody today who was nice enough to give me to let me borrow it so I can actually smoke. I get my own smokes. I just don't have the machine. I don't care to get one. I figured if I get the machine. But I really just didn't like his energy when I asked him to get it. It's just weird. I know it's just you borrow cigarettes from people all the fucking time, right? So I figured why not kind of borrow the machine from you, smoke, use it, and then give it back to you. But twice today, late, even in the afternoon today, I asked the machine from somebody, and she felt very much like I don't want somebody touching my machine. And I was like, "You're fine, bro. You can do whatever the fuck you want." Anyways, today is my first day in the new pattern, and I reminded myself of I don't know, I'm moving back into this flow. So there's a lot of things that need to be established, including the timelines where I actually am able to go there, and the separation from personal and work, because the goal of this is to be able to focus on the company, and the company is basically two aspects: the business side and the technical side. So I have to be able to go there in the morning, write some code, finish, know what I wrote, and that afternoon I have to establish the things I need to do for the business. And when I come back at night, I have to establish the things I do for myself. And if I were to spend my days and have fun, I figured that's the way I interact with myself instead of sitting and watching TV when I'm done, right? 'Cause I don't know, man. I just really don't. I don't understand people that just do that. I don't. It's not. There's nothing wrong with that. I really think it's a blessing to be able to kind of spend time with people that you love without having to build on top of something. But if I'm not mistaken, I feel like people that have been severely influenced by life, by that I'm using the word trauma, right? If you actually are, if at one point life almost got you, when it takes away that naivety of yours, or when it takes away that kind of like that shiny outlook where you're looking at everyone and everything as beautiful and perky, which they are, without understanding the subtle hindrance, the shadow that everything in this world carries. I really think that's where people kind of like reveal themselves. So discussing that and discussing my first day today, it's funny because like the actual, if I'm gonna go by order, the video I'm supposed to do today is disappointment and reverting to old patterns. But I ended up choosing this one because it's anime oriented, and I'm much more confident talking about anime, especially in a day that didn't go according to plan. And a lot's happening, right? So, but there's a there's a quote in this manga, Naruto, and I've read the manga by the way, and I watched the anime. Like I read mangas before the animes come out most of the time. Recently, I haven't the past 2 years because most of what I do is basically this. So it was. There was asked once. There was like, I don't want to be the protagonist of my own story. I want to be the antagonist in everyone else's story. And being portrayed as the evil guy and being the difference between being portrayed as the evil guy and being portrayed as the hero is really just a point of perspective, because from every angle, and we can use the example in our own history. I remember my dad used to tell it to me. Historically, there was a guy there in Egypt. There they had a rebel leader called Jamal Abdel Nasser, and that guy was basically a rebel, and the government basically targeted him until he became the actual leader of like a political leader, and then basically he became the president of the country, and he became a hero, and then he was dethroned, and he became a rebel again, and then he became a hero again, and at one point assassinated or something, right? But it's funny because it's the same guy doing the same thing, but it depended on where his position is and how people kind of like what people wanted, that his entire existence would either matter in one way or another. And the concept of antagonist and protagonist is very much like the hero and the anti hero. For the longest time, I to myself would always say I'd rather be the antagonist in everyone else's story. Because ultimately, to be the hero seemed to be a lot more work, right? And the more I realized that it takes a lot more focus and observational powers and understanding and listening skills to be an antagonist in everyone else's story, whilst a protagonist in your own means you're kind of like only listening to yourself and focusing on yourself. The fun part is the antagonist in everyone else's story is still the protagonist in his own story, but the only difference is I did not choose to be the hero for the people. I chose to be the hero of myself, which is you being an antagonist in everyone else's story. Like literally the devil's advocate, if you want to call it, or just the kind of person that shakes other people's beliefs to the core. And again, like that's not my intention, but you kind of create that persona around yourself once you start being honest. Because your truth is always going to be different than others' truth. Your honesty is coming from your own place. It's always going to be different from other people's honesty. And as you elaborate on your own truth, you're really being the protagonist in your own story. Like you're bringing out more of yourself. You're strengthening your existence and yourself and your beliefs. And you're exploring how you think and what you think through whatever you portray to the world. And that automatically makes you an antagonist in whoever is listening to you. But in order for you to be a good antagonist, you have to properly know your audience, and you have to properly understand where they come from, and you have to properly be listening to how they're responding and noticing and observing. I wrote this last week. Up till 2 years ago, I was still under the same mentality. Like, fuck it. I don't want to think of myself. I just want to kind of poke holes in other people's theories. And it's funny how about 9 years ago or 12 years ago, when I first read this in the manga, I kind of like started moving towards this kind of characteristic as I approach the world. And it's funny, as right now, it doesn't seem to have changed, but everything about it is different. And everything about it kind of makes me feel that at the core, we really are everything that we relate to. But it makes a lot more sense if you take the time to understand why instead of assuming or just making statements from a position where that doesn't really support you or support your growth or support any form of approach you have towards the world. Thank you, guys.